and welcome to Diamonds and Duds. I am Ivan.
And I am Charles.
Welcome to episode 33, The Electric State.
Ooh, is it going to be electrifying?
I thought it was going to be.
Really?
Well, your brother, Charles, knew nothing about this going in.
I didn't much either.
But I saw the cast, I saw the Russo brothers, and yeah. Oh. Your brother's also wondering if maybe going forward he should not check the Rotten Tomatoes scores until after he watches.
That's usually probably a good idea.
Yeah.
That being said, generally, okay, I'm going to say it right now. I say this as a big Marvel fan, big MCU fan, and I'm an MCU homer. I say this, Chris Pratt is a shit in all forms. Is a shitty actor. There is no upside. He's a terrible actor. He has one role that he has ever done. The man-child. Every single role that he's ever had, from Parks and Rec to Guardians to Jurassic Series, everything is on that man-child spectrum. And they've been talking about like he's having a big midlife crisis because his franchises are ended, and every single movie he's been making has been the worst thing of the year, and he's been singled out as ruining cinema with his performances.
And you're right, because the parts of him that I thought were okay in this movie were parts when they kind of leaned into that.
Yeah. But first, Electric State came out in 2025 after a war between humans and robots. People lost their freedom. People lost themselves in check, and Michelle lost everyone she loved. Or did she?
This was, we mentioned the Russo brothers did it. One of the writers of Endgame and Infinity War wrote it. It's based on, I should have looked this up better. It's based on a novel or a graphic novel kind of thing.
Yeah, it's got a cast.
Oh, wait, and that's the part that just looking at the cast going into this is why your brother was kind of surprised this didn't work on. And I have some ideas. We'll get into them as far as why I think it didn't work, because I thought parts of this movie worked perfectly fine, but then just they went down I don't know what they were thinking at times.
First of all, one thing that I knew the Russo brothers did it, and one of the things that worried me before I started watching it is that pretty much since the Avengers movies and really anything lately that the Russo brothers that have done that have not been in the MCU has pretty much been complete failures. Probably one of the reasons why they went back for Doomsday and Secret Wars is because pretty much everything was landing with a dead.
Well, it's and they did a great job with the Marvel stuff, but the stuff isn't that. Movies aren't that easy. You don't just make hits and stuff. And part of the issue I had, and I don't blame Millie Bobby Brown for this, is because Stranger Things did it partly at the end because they kind of had to. Yeah. But Millie Bobby Brown being in I believe she's in her mid-20s now, playing the part she did in Stranger. Yeah. That was kind of okay. We had to do this, but Stranger Things understandably also didn't go, hey, she's playing a 17-year-old. Yeah. In this, they're like, hey, she's in 6th grade or whatever. And we'll get to that point, but there's a part I'm like, wait. So I was your brother was doing the math in his head at a certain point, and he's like, wait, she's in high school now. Whatever just happened was 3 years ago. Yeah. Wait, was Millie Bobby Brown in her mid-20s playing a 12-year-old?
In the initial scene? Yeah, I know. I agree. It was somehow she was portraying the younger sibling, which.
No, she was the older sibling.
Oh, because he was a child genius, and yeah.
But from a Rotten Tomatoes standpoint, this got 14% by the critics, 67% by fans, which for a movie like this is actually.
Chris Pratt knows a lot of people.
No, see, I don't think he does, because a lot of times the fan vote is always going to be way skewed. Yeah. And I don't know when this came out in 2020, but like for a summary blockbustery kind of movie like this, normally you would think this would be like 85, 90, just for the fan.
Yeah. Does Rotten Tomatoes on the critics have a margin of error of 14%?
Well,
that's kind of what I'm wondering. I'm not gonna lie. We'll get into it, but in terms of where I feel, I would say more of a 0 is more in the ballpark of this guy right here.
See,
more of a round O or a 1.
I don't know if you're gonna like this because a lot of times I try and pull a critic thing from him. This is from Peter Rainier of Film Week. He didn't like it.
Stunner.
There's a very marvelous aspect to this film, but in a recycled and dull way.
I know. I get it. I get that.
What was the one? Yeah, because there's been some pretty bad Marvel movies as of late. But.
Yeah, the Eternals and the Marvels weren't. Yeah. Although the Hill I Will Die On, the Marvels wasn't any good, but Miss Marvel, that's a Kamala Khan, the Tatum one. She both. On screen and off screen, she's just a revelation. Because but the actual actress is before being hired, was one of the biggest fanboys in the MCU. Then she got hired, but she didn't stop the fangirl. Like she's been like the newest thing is like Wonder Man, the show, and that's actually gotten rave reviews because it doesn't give a shit about the MCU. It just tells its own story or something like that, and she just wrote like a page just on some fan forum thing, a pages long review of it, just randomly. She's cool. Sorry.
For some reason, I just thought of this, kind of sidetrack us for a second. Did you hear there's a new Game of Thrones show out right now?
Oh yeah, Duncan A.
You and your wife, I know, are huge Game of Thrones people, and I think if I remember right, and like a lot of people towards the end, you weren't. Apparently, Charles. And I don't know a ton about the lore, and I don't tend to remember all that shit and stuff. But like, apparently it's only like 4 to 6 episodes, and they're only 30 minutes long.
Yeah, it's supposed to be good.
It's supposed to be amazing. Yeah, so I just wanted to, in case you hadn't heard, it's about Duncan the Tall.
Yeah, he referenced that. Yeah, he's written some stories. That's a franchise that's dead to me. I hope it continues to do. I hope it continues to do well. I hear it's great. I hear it's really, really, really good. But that franchise is dead to me. And like the show that must not be named.
Yeah. Okay.
Back to Electric State, though. So this is set. It's set in the past. The beginning is like 1990. I'm assuming that a lot of this is why it's all set in the past. There's no story reason other than I assume that's tied to the fact that that's when the book is sent or the book was written. I'm kind of thinking that
the book is based on like it looks like basically a Swedish graphic novel. Now I haven't read a lot of graphic novels, but this is a graphic novel that's 144 pages, which is a pretty long graphic novel. Which is I think part of the. Yeah. Part of me wonders if this would have been better as a like a limited series kind of thing. Because part of the issue I had with this, Charles, was that I'm like, okay, this part they had is interesting. Okay, and we'll talk as we kind of get into the story beats. But part of the problem I had is like, okay, we now need to go to Phoenix, or what the fuck it was. Yeah. And it's like, hey, we're in Phoenix. Yeah. And they just sort of skipped giant chunks of fucking time.
And actually, now that I'm thinking, I'm learning that the graphic novel came out in 2018. So there's no fucking reason for this movie to be set in the 1990s. Other than
my guess is that it was the graphic novel that did it.
Yeah,
maybe,
but other than hey, we wanted it to be in the 90s, but I will say this: we're going to find that I think this movie has 1.5 things going for it in the positive column across the whole thing. The one that's a solid 1 is the music. Yeah, and the fact that it's in the 90s did allow for that music choice. So I will give that aspect. There's no story reason, and it doesn't really feel like they give us any kind of reason. But that being said, it did allow for a lot of good music in the 90s, so I will give it that.
No, and the realistic, like looking at it, just kind of going into my kind of thoughts on the movie here too, is that I didn't have the people I didn't have a ton of issues with were the people doing the voice work. Because I thought because there were some of the robots that I found genuinely hilarious.
I liked one. I liked one. One robot.
I liked the baseball robot because I kind of liked.
I didn't hate him. But
the delivery lady I thought was really funny.
She had a couple. Okay, yes, the postmaster. I will give you that one. She had a couple really funny lines. I will absolutely give you that.
And I thought Anthony Mackie as Herman.
Yeah, that's the one.
I thought he did a great job with what he was given.
Yeah. Oh no, that's the robot that's the Herman or whatever. That's the robot I liked, especially considering as we get to it, he had a thankless job of dealing with a mound of poop as a partner. But okay, one of the things I hated most about this movie, and just wanted me to just like, I fucking hate this movie. Like in some way, like it's not, and in a lot of ways it's not. We've seen movies in this as we've done this that are a lot worse made. Okay, we've seen a lot of movies. One of the reasons why I fucking hate this movie is inside this movie there was a 5-star fantastic movie.
Oh, absolutely.
That they blew past in the first 30 seconds of this film.
Okay.
Their movie is not any of this shit with Millie Bobby Brown, and which Millie Bobby Brown I thought was fine. I thought she was the half. I thought she didn't have a lot to work with, but no, she did fine. The Rise of the Robot. We never found out how the fuck these robots gained sentience.
It was such an I don't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah,
it was such an interesting idea that we haven't seen addressed on this kind of budget very often.
Yes,
kind of thing where granted, this was something written in 2018, but politics-wise, nowadays, seeing a disenfranchised group of people that are just... And granted, robots aren't people, but that was the whole point of this. But basically just sort of getting fucked over.
Yeah. And
then at a certain point, them saying, enough is enough.
Yeah. Frankly, this should have been a sequel.
Yeah.
Okay? The movie is to show... Because these robots were basically in... they were in service. They were created to, service, industries, barbers, this, that, and whatever. We needed to see their gaining of sentience. We needed to see
because we didn't see how they got to the sentience at all.
Yeah, we needed to see why they're hated so much. We needed to see the war that ended up in the loss. The loss for the robots. That's the movie.
Do you know who should have been the main character of this movie, Charles? Woody Harrelson. And I know he didn't necessarily do a great job in Mr. Peanut. But
he was
Woody Harrelson was Mr. Peanut. Because what your brother did is...
it's not Woody's fault.
No, he did the best he could. But I had a thing up where I was kind of trying to figure... Because like Brian Cox was the baseball guy.
Oh, yeah, I could tell that right away.
And so I was pulling up those people. Because
when you gotta go, you gotta go.
That's probably partly where I'm thinking maybe the movie was better than you, was that we're on the same page. Because I'm thinking... that this should have been a limited series where they got to explain a bunch of this shit. Even if, and I haven't read the graphic novel, but let's say the graphic novel didn't, that doesn't mean you're not being untrue to the graphic novel if you explain this kind of stuff. But
there's literally a whole movie that they just missed, and especially glaring the fact that they never went over sentience is that, as we're going to see throughout the movie, there's now robots that are that don't somehow have not but gained any kind of sentience, that are constantly connected into the neural net of minds. So all of these servitude robots that were never connected to like human minds or anything like that, they all gain sentience in some way that we don't know. But yet these new robots that have been connected now for years, straight to the brain and basically are avatars, they don't gain sentience?
Exactly. And so it's like, why is Mr. Peanut sentient but my toaster not?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Okay, Mr. Peanut, this is nothing against Woody Harrelson. He's the best they could give him. I get that they wanted a known You know, like kind of like a known brand man. But Mr. Peanut was fucking off-putting. There was some of these robots look cool. By some, I mean a couple. Okay, some were designed; they weren't supposed to look cool. Like, you know, the lady.
I think it's supposed to be like, hey, this is a robot from the 50s or 60s.
Like the robot postmaster girl. She like. I wasn't a big fan of the baseball guy, but it's him. Yeah. He looked the way that he was supposed to look. But a lot of these robots look bad in a bad way, and I'm not talking about bad effects. I'm talking about bad design concept. And Mr. Peanut, like the effects people did a good work. It's just choosing Mr. Peanut, it like took me out of the fucking movie whenever he was on screen. That's not Woody Harrelson's fault. It's not the effects people's fault. I think it's just whoever's decision it was to have it be Mr. fucking Peanut. You know,
and I think some of that stuff could have been picked better because I think, But I think as we get it, so we've kind of mentioned what we thought should have been the movie, and so that was the first part, how they explain all this stuff, and then you get to the '90s and Clinton and a bunch of shit.
And this, 1 minute, by the way. This is 1 minute.
Yeah, this is 1 minute of the fucking movie.
Yeah.
But like this, I think probably annoyed the shit out of my brother to start to kick. I had the exact opposite reaction to this, Charles.
Yeah.
This got your brother, me, excited.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh, if they're just needing to go like fast forward through all this stuff. The rest of this must be really good. It's genuinely what I was thinking which is probably why at the beginning of this, as they're kind of going through stuff, why initially I was giving it a pass on a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and so we're introduced to Millie and her brother. This is basically during the war. Brother's farther in schooling, but he's younger. He's the genius kid. 12, going to college.
It sounds like he's supposed to be like uber 1% smart. Kind of thing.
And he's nervous about going, but she, basically talks him into it. And then now, fast forward, we learn that essentially they made robots to kill the robots. Which again, whatever.
Because basically the way the war was going is that the robots were kicking the shit out of us, and so they created VR basically. So they created a VR so that the people could be at home but be in a robot and then fight the robots basically.
Yeah, and I'm considering the robots were shown in this movie on our side. I'm gonna call bullshit on the fact that the robots were beating the shit out of us because. There might have been a bunch of robots we didn't really see, but the robots were shown are a lot of different service. A barber's chair does not make a good, military fighting unit. Neither does, all gags aside, a postman robot or a baseball fighting robot. Again, with an issue, which bring up some issues later on, but some of the stuff was played for last. So it's fine. But I didn't have issues okay, so. The robots were seen kick the crap.
See, Charles.
But it was whatever.
I think it was because Charles. If you think about it, the '90s. Okay, an M16 isn't going to do a whole hell of a lot to that milkman robot.
Fair.
Plus, being a robot, this isn't like. You get your arm shot off and you're now dead. It's going to take them It's going to take. All the robots are. Unless they get blown apart, are going to be fixable. But also, this goes back to the crucial part of this. They didn't explain that.
Yeah.
That takes probably a couple minutes, and this would have been a good thing to introduce for what do you call it, the guy you hate?
Yeah.
The actor,
Chris Pratt.
Thank you.
Chris Pratt.
To show him in the war. Other than they had a little clip of him during the.
Suited up as a soldier, nothing really.
Basically, to show his battle scene, to show how they were doing it real quick. Also, it's a fun thing to have in a goddamn summer blockbuster kind of movie. But it shows. Going back to what's happening in the movie, shows the brother taking some tests that he does better than Einstein.
Yeah.
Basically, what it's meant to set for you is that he's probably one of the couple smartest people on the planet. Mm-hmm. It's just he doesn't. that's not who he wants to be as a person, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, and so we then towards the end of this montage, we learn that Millie Bobby Brown's the whole family died in a car accident. She survived. She's now in foster care, and now this robots that basically were saved. They're basically they're neurocasters or whatever. Basically, people are putting their brain waves into these robots, and they kind of avatars to essentially do other things. I think those robots look kind of dumb, but whatever.
They do. I think the purpose of it was to try and make them look different than the other robots. But basically, what it is, guys, is that the thought is that you have your one half of your brain that goes and does your job every day, and the other half of your brain can just go have fun all the time.
Yeah.
And just you sit in the chair and get fat. Basically. And again, there's an entire movie there.
Yeah.
Like just from a philosophical standpoint.
Philosophical.
Thank you. There's a whole movie there from that standpoint as well that they just don't do.
Yeah, and then we have a brief minute. Foster Dad's a bit of a jackass, and this is also a grossly miscast role. Did you recognize who it was?
Oh, it was Jason Alexander.
Yeah. As I said, Chris Pratt was shit in this movie, and Chris Pratt is shit. Chris Pratt is not the worst acting person in this movie. I like Jason Alexander, and I'm not innocent to say this is entirely his fault. However, tonally, he only has a few minutes of screen time. Yeah. But tonally, he is all over the place from one second to another. They can't decide if he's supposed to be intimidating, abusive, Foster Dad, or if they're supposed to, hey, we have Jason Alexander, we need to tap into that Seinfeld comedy. And so for the couple minutes he's in it, it's like it's a roller coaster, and not like there's high points.
No, it's one of those ones that like are at a fucking carnival, and it's run by the guy who's high on meth.
Yeah,
and it's like you just want to puke.
Yeah, it's just going from intimidating to attempting.
It's like
funny.
It's like is he?
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I don't. Again, it's hard for me to blame Jason Alexander too, because my guess is they just. Because with my understanding with a lot of these things, and we've never been actors, but my guess is with some of the scenes that ended up with him trying to be comedic, is at the end of what the line was, they're like, "Hey, Jason, just this one's on you. Just do something funny." It's probably what they did, and he just did something stupid, and a few of them stayed in.
Yeah, and so basically we get a robot, and robot's one of the big weaknesses of the movie. The movie has a lot of weaknesses. Now, the concept is fine. The robot essentially thinks that it's Millie Bobby Brown's brother, and we're going to learn that he's alive in a form, and he's kind of using his consciousness, to send out. But why I see it as a weakness is, I thought this robot looked fucking ridiculous.
Oh, wait, because basically what it is, guys, is that Millie Bobby Brown's in her, in her foster house, and a robot comes in and kind of, she's thinking is attacking them. Basically, at this point in the movie, all the robots are now in the American South, the American robots are in the American Southwest.
And the exclusion zone.
With a giant wall around it. And if you harbor a robot, it's basically a, super felony.
Yeah.
Basically, is what it is. And so she's understandably freaked the fuck out when she sees a robot. It's meant to kind of be her brother. I have some other problems with it too. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, and another thing, despite in addition to the look of the robot being ridiculous, for whatever reason they also went the Bumblebee route. For the robot, with Bumblebee being from the Transformer, who famously, and this I'm not knocking Bumblebee. This has been Bumblebee's shtick the entire time. Was that Bumblebee didn't speak. Bumblebee couldn't speak and damaged nerve process or whatever it was. But he basically used songs and just crap like that. And so that's just kind of what they did. This robot doesn't speak regularly, and so it's just
up until this point, as a viewer, you have not really seen any of the other robots in any kind of detail at all. Yeah. So you have no other basis for it. So I didn't really have a problem with it either, because I'm like, oh, that's kind of funny. It is adding some comedic value to it. And basically, Millie Bobby Brown realizes pretty quickly that it's supposed to be, it's supposed to be your brother. At the very least, it gives her an opportunity to get the fuck out of Jason Alexander's house. And
I didn't really want to spend the movie with him anyway. So basically, they're trying. Through their interaction, she kind of learns where her brother is, or not where her brother is, but where a scientist that would know.
Yeah, because basically her brother doesn't know where he's at, but knows.
A scientist, a doctor
knows a scientist that does, and they kind of go through a convoluted way. But in a summer action movie, I didn't have a problem with how they found what's his name from Indiana Jones. But basically, what it is that hey, the human is inside the exclusion zone, which they're not supposed to be.
Nope. And so basically, they learn. Okay, there's this person that's smuggling stuff in from the exclusion zone, and that's how eventually we meet Chris Pratt,
which is a good chunk into the movie at this point.
Yep. And here's again,
other than that part at the beginning.
Here's one of the big issues. I have a real issue with the entire concept of Chris Pratt's role as a smuggler in the exclusion zone. My role is not that the idea of sneaking into the exclusion zone. My idea is that, because they make it clear that the stuff he finds in the exclusion zone is super fucking valuable and you can't find anywhere else. But they also show, we're talking like random things. We're talking like certain, frozen, like food pies and just different, stuff
that would have expired 10 years ago.
Yes, but also shit that was in stores. Right? It's just shit. It was just novelty shit.
That's very
G.I. Joe lunchboxes and the shit. And the shit that I can't stand about it is, the exclusion zone is just the American Southwest. This shit was all over the goddamn country.
Well, see,
it's all over. It shouldn't be worth anything. You can find it in New York.
See, that's the thing is you can't.
Yeah.
I think this is the other part that is not explained well, Charles, which is this, because we've talked about how there could have been two different movies. The second movie that they could have done, the word I couldn't pronounce, basically about them being in these people for the last 5 or 10 years being in the VR things have destroyed the entire world, is what I think it is. I think what it's supposed to be is the rest is that the exclusion zone is like a snapshot in time where like New York and no place else is producing anything anymore is I think what it's supposed to be, but that's just me guessing because they don't explain anything. But also part of me wonders if the reason it takes so long to get to Chris Pratt is because a lot of his shit had to be cut because it was unusable.
Yeah, he's terrible in this. Now he has a robot buddy, the aforementioned Anthony Mackie Herman. This character, I liked it. He was funny. I did the banter. I think he was really. I did like the character.
It was good. And one of the best parts of this, I would say, the second best part of the movie, outside of the beginning, where they talked about the robots getting sentient, is I forget if it was Herman or Pratt, which one of them was talking when they get to the point where they're talking about how they met in the war. That story of how they met in the war and how they didn't die is one of the parts that Pratt does pretty damn well in this movie. But it's also something they should have when they just sort of gloss over it. Wasn't it when they were driving?
It was driving.
It was like that they just sort of glossed over it in 30 seconds. And this was because basically what the story was that Pratt's entire platoon was wiped out, and Herman refused to kill him because it was a war crime and it was not right. Because I forget the exact story, but basically both sides did something like that, and that got them to be, establish this bond, which would have been a crucial. Showing that bond can exist in this movie would have been crucial by the time you get to Mr. Peanut and the mall.
Yeah.
Showing that, but like they just gloss over it in 30 fucking seconds.
And so we are really one of our main villains, as far as moment to moment, is Gus from Breaking Bad, completely wasted because it's not physically him. It's he's in the Neurocaster. Again, it's just his face on the robot that looks fucking stupid. And he's a bad guy purely by coincidence. Because of the fact that in the beginning...
He's not a bad person. He just...
And I don't even mean that. I mean coincidence of bad writing. Because, like, you know, yeah, he's a bounty hunter. Basically, he goes after robots. But no, what is... In the beginning of the movie... Well, in the beginning, when we first see Chris Pratt, he's doing a deal with Chris Pratt for a gun, and he's trying to basically double-cross Pratt to get it for free.
That wasn't... That wasn't Giancarlo.
Yeah, it was.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
There's another actor I thought that was.
No, that was Gus, I think. But then what happens was during it he saw Millie Bobby Brown, but more important than Millie Bobby Brown, the Smiley robot, which they're already wanted, and so he starts tracking the robot, and so he kind of fought him where all the smuggling stuff was, and they get stuck in the exclusion zone, on that side. And so there's this little bit while they're trying to get out. You know, Chris Pratt's trying for the mine cart. This whole 3 minutes. It's 3 or 4 minutes. It seemed like for in the where during this fight in the smuggler's warehouse is they're trying to get these mine carts going so that they can escape. And Chris Pratt, for whatever reason, has 1,000 keys. Okay, has 1,000 keys on a thing, and he's slowly starting to go through these keys. I'm like, first of all, why the fuck did he have all these keys? This is a dumbass bit. And they finally get in the minecart, and it's 10 seconds of the minecart. Well, it's a waste of 3 minutes.
Basically, hey, and this is the other part is that why I think this should have been either not done or some sort of, because nowadays this isn't 2005 when it was a big faux pas and no one ever did a limited run television series where it's hey, this is something that's going to be 6 episodes and that's it. This seems like this should have been that kind of thing, because I think the reason that minecart part was so short because hey dude, we're already at 2.5 hours, we have to cut 20 minutes out of this already is what I think it is.
By the way, and then we also one of our real bad guy in this is Stanley Tucci. He doesn't do anything bad. I think that he missed what he should have done here, and maybe he tried, but the directors reined him in. What as bad as this movie is, I think he would have benefited from going the Alan Rickman route and just really tried to eat up some scenery. But I think that's also he might have tried that and couldn't really do. He also might have realized this movie sucks. And you know what? I do more high prestige movie. This is a paycheck movie that gets you. Which I mean,
he's hey, I'll do what I can. I'll try and make you, but yeah.
But and a lot of the good they've talked about that before. How the sometimes big budget movies they pay. Well, they pay. There's Benedict Cumberbatch has talked about MCU movies. Yeah. That's what allows him to do his fancy stuff.
And I think, and this is me basing this on nothing. Part of me also wonders if in the current state, when the Russo brothers ask you to do something, you say yes.
Yeah.
Because to give them fairness is that there hasn't been a lot of bad Russo brothers stuff. Yeah. And so I think in the end you kind of trust them is probably what part of it is too.
In one of these scenes that we're getting with, because Stanley Tucci, he runs the insurance company or whatever that has these neuralized, not insurance, sorry, but the
tech company that runs
the tech company that has a neuralized. In one of these scenes, though, there's he has an underling and assistant or something like that. Did you recognize that underling, assistant, some other employee of the tech company? Anders from Battlestar.
Oh.
Yeah, he's only in one scene. But yeah, Anders from Battlestar is in a scene. I was like, oh, cool, good for him. And then we didn't see him again.
No, because we'll get to it when we get to the end. I think they also completely wasted Giancarlo Esposito in this, because you also could have had a bigger moral dilemma when some of this stuff kind of happened too.
Yeah.
I think, but yeah. And so basically they get into when the minecart ends, they get into the
exclusion zone.
They get into the exclusion zone, and they're like, "Hey, we're here forever." It's basically plot hole filled. We're here forever, and just no one mentioned that ever again because we don't have time to talk about it.
And pretty soon though they get to the mall, which is like a robot civilization town,
which I thought was I thought was an intriguing idea, but it was. They just didn't have the time to do a lot of the stuff they could have done. They tried to institute too much shit into this.
And there was a much better movie in here, but they bulldozed part of it. Bulldozed past it in 25 seconds.
To be honest, what they should have done to give themselves more time, it sounds bad, but what they should have done was when they initially when Millie Bobby Brown and Chris Pratt and Herman get into the exclusion zone, they should have found Mr. Peanut and maybe one or two other robots right away, and then gone straight to the carnival. Yeah. They should have just, because they didn't have time to talk about it, they shouldn't have even gone into the whole damn thing. And you just mentioned that they're establishing something at the end, and part of it would have made them more convoluted probably, but it's like that's the issue I had. Is I got so frustrated watching this goddamn movie because there's so many good, intriguing, I'll say original in quotes because what's original nowadays, but there's so much stuff they could have done, but they just sort of crammed it all in.
And so, we get some time we're meeting other robots, and there's going to be a crew of them now that head off to where the scientist guy is, who's at a little carnival where some of the scab robots are basically robot enemies, robots that have gone crazy or whatever like that.
Yeah, basically they're robots that for some reason kill other robots and take them for parts.
Yep. And so, we meet the doctor. We find out basically the context of, because he was there. Millie Bobby Brown remembers him at the car. He's the one that told her that his brother was dead, which his brother did not die. He went comatose, basically. Yeah. And they basically, the whole tech company's neuralizer thing, he's running. Like, his brain is running. His
brain's running. The entire world's VR is running through this kid's brain.
Yeah. And so, and Keegan Kwan, again, he does fine. He's not really given much to work with. He doesn't, because Gus and a whole bunch of those robots attack, and there's a big fight scene, and he dies. But again, I will say they do a good job. They showcase the fact that Gus very clearly, he does not kill humans. He will not do it. But then a Stanley Tucci robot is what kills Keegan Kwan. And I wrote, I don't really care that Data is dead. Data being, one of his famous early roles was as Data in Goonies.
And see, the thing I thought they should have done here was they should have had the fact that Data died way before they got there.
Yeah.
And they find his robot.
Yeah,
what I think.
I'm probably interested. The robot version of him, I probably was more entertained by.
Nothing to do with the actor, because if they weren't, because in my opinion, because as we get towards we'll get more towards the end of the movie here in a little bit. But basically, what ends up happening is that Giancarlo Esposito, he ends up getting the kid. They end up taking it to or not the kid. They base the robot.
Yeah.
But basically, Giancarlo later has this crisis of confidence where he finds out that's not a robot. That's a person.
Yeah.
What I think should have happened at that point. Yeah. Was that he should have killed Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
Is what I think should have happened, is they should have had him kill Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
But it's not that kind of movie.
Yeah. And so they get, in this, they captured the brother bot, basically, and he gets taken back out of the exclusion zone, up into north of everywhere else, Seattle, they say, like Washington, Oregon.
Yes.
Somewhere thereabouts. And now we get at this point we get a little bit of calm before the storm, where they're gonna, and then also the mall got wiped out pretty much. So survivors are gonna storm the castle, so to speak, of the tech company and try to.
And part of me wonders if this was like the original novel or if this was something else, because I think whoever wrote this script thinks, because basically this carnival where they find Data is basically roughly in Phoenix.
Yeah.
Just because based on the road they mentioned.
Yeah.
And I think they think that Phoenix and Seattle are next to each other.
I know, right?
It's like they're like, "Hey, it's in Seattle, guys," and it's like, we're in Seattle.
Yeah.
Part of me wonders how much like character development in the graphic novel was done on some of these like giant road trips.
Yeah.
Because
they figure if they rescue the brother, that knowing that like he runs the entire that way, then like basically in one fell swoop the robots win because the Northerners win. At this point, I put down. There's something that happens. I wrote, "Bitch move, shitty movie. Bitch move." Do you know what I am referring to?
Huh.
This movie did nothing to fucking earn being able to play "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey.
Oh.
I was like, when it came out, like, I love "Don't Stop Believing" by Journey. It's one of my favorite songs. I'm like, oh, fuck you, Electric. I'm like, that's a bitch move. You did not earn this, the playing of this song. For shame. For shame. But really, to me, like, the music, all jokes aside, the music is one of the only things this movie surely has going for it. It has its soundtrack probably kills.
If any of you have Spotify, look that up. I'm sure
its soundtrack probably kills. So basically, it's assault on the fortress. You know, Millie Bobby Brown and Data are going incognito inside while Data Robot, while the other is kind of assaults and huge ass Big Herman's throwing cars at the building. I did enjoy that. I did enjoy the Huge Herman really just lobbing cars at the building.
Yeah, I thought that was funny, and I thought the fact that the mall's defenses they brought with them. Ironically, the mall probably could have used them, but the mall's defenses was like some of the robots hurling fridges, which I thought was rather funny.
Yeah, and so this is the time when Gus finds out that like it's a human, and so Gus goes out basically, and he doesn't kill Mr. Peanut. And he has an interaction with Mr. Peanut, or Mr. Peanut's like, he saves Mr. Peanut, he kills it, and Mr. Peanut's like, why would you do that? And I was like, it's the biggest fuck you explanation ever.
Yeah.
He's like, I finally found something less human than a robot, or something that's like, where it's like,
it's the worst fucking line ever.
Yeah, it's like, it's a real fuck you, like, Jesus.
Which is why they should have had him kill Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
Because what should have happened was that him come to the realization for all his time in the military and stuff that he was doing and tracking down and killing these robots, that the entire time he was killing living things.
Yeah.
Is what should have happened. And it should have been him coming to that realization and having some sort of thing other than, hey, fuck you, Peanut, I'm leaving.
Yeah. And so basically we learned that the brother, he can't be unhooked and live. He's integrated. If he gets unhooked, he dies, and he wants to be unhooked. He cannot deal with existing like this anymore. He knows, now that he's been out in the world, he also knows what has happened to the world as a result of kind of him being hooked in. He wants to be basically the plug pulled on him. And this is a good moment between him and Millie Bobby Brown.
No, I thought an unintentionally funny aspect to this, Charles, too, was Data every few seconds going, hey, can you guys... Or, it was Data, yeah.
Yeah.
Data every few minutes going, hey, guys, can you hurry up? Like, everybody's dying outside.
Yeah.
Whatever you're going to do, can you do it? You guys almost done? And he does this like 3 or 4 times.
Yes. And so, I was, the movie doesn't take the easy way. I'm sure it's because of the way the graphic novel ends. But, so the brother dies. The good guys win. And so instantly, all of these neuralizer robots around the world, and everything connected to this company, completely shuts down. So one thing that they really gloss over is that that had to cause world chaos on a monumental scale.
Like, you would think by this point, do you think like airplane pilots were like using it, or like people were driving cars that way?
Yeah, I'm willing to say
billions.
We might have had, there might have been a death toll with a B. We might have lost 1 billion people at that moment. Because they made it clear like this is like involved, connected to everything in the world, and it just all ended in 1 second. I'm like, wow, that kind of caused massive.
Yeah,
that's kind of how it ends. Basically, they're Millie Bobby Brown gets back. They're gonna go start like a robot town or something.
Well, they went back to the mall.
Oh yeah, okay. That's where it was. They went back to
they went back to the mall to kind of reach, which I thought was a kind of good way to end that.
Yeah.
And the part that I hated was they kind of also took the easy way out with the brother dying, because then the last scene was the brother being back in the robot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought they took basically, hey, the brother's not dead. Kind of thing. But.
Yeah. So, okay. So, let's see. Okay. So our rating scale, there's a diamond or a dud. Okay. So diamonds are it's a good movie. 1 to 5, and basically the idea is if it's 1, like, all right, it's a good flick, but like, I'm not gonna catch it again. 5, like, okay, it's like, you know.
5 is, even if you're not a sci-fi person, this is a movie you should watch,
and you'll watch it again. A dud is, again, it's a bad movie, but then there's also levels. A dud's just like 0-1 is just unwatchable, blow my brains out. Higher up, it could be like, yeah, it's bad, but like, there's guilty pleasure moments, or it's so bad it's good, or, it's not, I could at least watch it every once in a while. So that's it. Where do you land on this?
You're going to be shocked. I'm going to land on a dud.
Oh, stunner.
Only because I think we've watched movies significantly worse than this, and I don't want to, like, unjustly, accidentally make this worse than them, because as bad as it sounds, that they were worse than this only because there's little parts of this that could have been good. Where in those other ones, there wasn't anything that could have been good. And so I gave it a dud of a 1.
Yeah. And that's where I land as well.
Yeah.
Because I just, very little redeeming about this movie. And this movie this budget is probably like a couple $100 million bucks. Cost.
Had Netflix behind it, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
it was a Netflix movie.
And so it was something that absolutely could have been good. I think it probably they should have convinced Netflix to do it as a miniseries or some shit, because Netflix does that stuff all because they want content. They don't. It's just they want stuff that's good.
Yep. So what are we doing next time?
We're doing 2023's The Toxic Avenger.
Toxic Avenger.
A buddy of mine, JC, highly recommended this. So I was very excited to watch this because I haven't seen the original at all.
Tiny pieces about it. I just knew of it.
I knew of it, and any time prior that it would have come across my plate, I wasn't really a horror person at the time. So I'm excited to give this one a try.
Yep. So tune in us next time as we go over The Toxic Avenger, and like us, follow us on all the things, and the TikTok and whatnot. And have a week.
Have a good one.